Huh? Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to All Nicked Up. Another week, another episode. Of course, we're coming to you live directly from the greatest city on the planet. Of course, that's New York City. I am one of your hosts, Eric Holzman. We have a great show here planned for you guys tonight. We're going to be down one, I think, from what I've been told. I think Joe is under the weather. We're not sure what's going on there, but send our best wishes to Joe. Hopefully, he gets well soon. A couple other programming notes. I will not be here next week. I'm actually traveling overseas for the first time in my life. I'll be going to England for about 5 days. So looking forward to that, but I will not be broadcasting from from Stonehenge. I'm not gonna be setting up a computer, be like, "Hey, I'm here. How y'all doing?" I'm not gonna do that. So just wanted to give you guys a little bit of programming note. And I will not be here next week, but I believe Joe and Ty will be, so they'll be here to hold you guys down. So let me bring Ty in. So, hello there, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Another Wednesday. Um, another crappy Wednesday. It's pretty been cloudy outside all day, and looks like we're gonna get some rain today and tomorrow. But
Yeah.
we go on. We continue. Weather does not stop our show.
That's,
So
that's that's how shit creeks works. You keep growing up it.
that is true. That is true. And we have a really good show tonight because we got some good news today.
Yes.
About which it started out like a maybe, and then a couple hours later we got he's playing. So I'll just throw it up there real quick. Mitch Robinson is coming back, folks.
Loch Ness.
Uh, yes, this is good news on a number of fronts. I think we, as Knicks fans, we've been kind of worried all year about, at least when the injuries started happening, we've been kind of worried, like, is the team ever going to get whole again? Or is this going to be another one of those seasons where we think we might be able to make some noise and then injuries derail us? Well, one guy is back. So we have one guy who has come back. The other two, we keep hearing stuff about one guy who apparently they said it wasn't too serious, just elbow management, but apparently that it really has to be managed because he has he for what looked like just a little hyperextension. He's been out for what, 5 games now? I think five
Yeah.
more games.
Yeah, 5 games at least. He's been out. It's
So,
crazy.
so it's been crazy. But Ty, Mitch is back. We've had discussions on this show about what do we think his role is going to be. I'm going to ask you this because I asked the question to the group in the chat today. So I'm going to ask you directly. Is he going to start tonight? I don't know if we've heard about it yet, but is he going to start tonight?
Oh, my Thibodeau hat and antenna says he could start. But I'm just going to go off the mindset he's not starting. I'm going to believe that this is going to be iHeart and he's going to come in and give limited minutes off the bench. That's what I'm thinking. It would make sense. See, this is the logical, basketball-minded person saying this. But let's put the Tom Thibodeau aluminum cap on. He just may play 48 minutes, like I told you earlier today. We don't know how the hell this thing is going to go. It literally could be just that. A guy coming off of the injury list. We've seen OG Anunoby, or Gugawa, as I call him. His real name, his government name. He has come off of injury and started. So we could literally see this kind of, Thibodeau type of rotation come about. But for now, I'm looking at how he's kind of staggered the minutes of iHeart. They're trying to ramp him up. You know how it is. And he's kind of giving him some little loose minutes, playing Sims somewhat. I'm more than sure Mitch will get baptized by a heaping fire tonight probably and may play more minutes than anyone could expect. It would make a lot of sense that if he just backed up iHeart and he did a trifecta of him, Achua, and those three playing at center, I think it would be a smart move to do. But we know even in 25-point blowouts, Thibodeau will keep starters in. So it just don't matter. They put in that new 25-point line the NBA installed that nobody except Tom Thibodeau got the memo on. He is the dude that believes there's a 25-point shot and you have to keep everyone, and he means everyone, in for 47 minutes at least. We've seen him do it with Ride, play back-to-back entire games.
Yep.
He's actually it's 3 games. I think he's like a minute short in a couple of the games. He would have been the one player who's probably not done in a long time, played 3 full games. straight. Mitch is playing 48 minutes tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm wondering how much they're going to play him. And when I brought up the question to the group in our chat, John was like, "That yeah, that's not going to happen." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, do you remember who this coach is? Like, really? Do you know who our coach is? Like, I'm not saying he's going to start. But I would not be surprised if he does.
No.
I keep looking at my phone because normally during the pregame they give the list of who the starting five, and I haven't seen it yet. So I keep checking to see if they announce who's going to be starting. I haven't seen anything saying he's starting. So I'm assuming right now he's coming off the bench. I will assume right now, but I don't know. I just think like his impact, the best way I think his impact is going to be positive for the team is now guys aren't going to be playing those super duper minutes that they've been playing. Like
Yeah.
we know Hartenstein hasn't been in great health either, and he's been playing really hard and playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
But this will enable Tibbs to be like, all right, we could put Mitch in the game again, and we're not going to lose much on defense.
Yeah.
So that's the area where, of course, he's going to come in and help right away. So that's what I'm looking to see, the impact that he's going to make. How much rust will he have? Is he gonna be able to come back in right away, because he doesn't play a highly skilled offensive game unless you watch him on Instagram. So if you're watching him in the NBA, he doesn't do much on offense. So if his job is just to rebound, protect the paint, be a rim runner, lobs, he could do that stuff. I don't think that's too difficult a thing to just fall right into. So conditioning obviously will probably be an issue in the beginning. He's got to get back into game shape. But this is only a good thing. This is not a bad thing. Guys coming back, getting healthy is always a good thing. So let's really quickly talk about the other guy, though, that I mentioned, who is not back yet. We've kind of had this discussion about him for how bad this injury is.
Yeah, man.
So OG is still out. Again, this is his fifth straight game he's missed since he came back for the 2 games, or 1.5, however you want to look at it. So we discussed this more ad nauseum last week about what we really think is going on.
Yeah.
I was kind of been on the more positive side, but now as more and more games he misses, I'm like, okay, I'm losing my positivity here. I'm thinking this is actually worse than they're letting on. So I'm just going to ask flat out: will we see him again this year?
I'm big on calling him by his government name, Ogugawa. Hopefully, my pronunciation is correct. But that doesn't even. That's not what that OG means. That means officially gone. That's what this means. OG because he's officially gone from the lineup. I don't see when the hell this dude is going to return, because my and I hate to do the assumption. We know what that word means. However, you have to project in thinking along Nick logic and Nick reveal as far as with injuries. I think he's re-injured that elbow, and it's not good. There is no reason that if a guy is, say he tweaked it, say he irritated, say he's waiting for the inflammation. Well, the last time I checked, that's what ibuprofen and anti-inflammatories, whatever medicine they can take away the inflammation. So now we are listening to either there's structural damage or botched surgery. We don't know what it is, because inflammation makes no sense, because there's way too many ways to fight inflammation. I'm thinking that it has to be when he did that uchiawi on the court and was reaching for the ball or whatever, something went wrong. Because I've never heard of someone managing at this magnitude an injury, a slight injury, because what we're hearing that it was like an irritation, basically, to the same surgically repaired. Now, granted, we know with surgeries, there's always a buffer with the healing process. Could be swelling. We know all these things. We're not doctors. We try to play one-on podcast, but we all kind of can generally see when we had injuries ourselves. If you twisted an ankle, whatever, it does take time. However, we don't have the best medical people. We don't have the best money that money can buy. And yet we could take probably at least an ace bandage and some green alcohol and rub on a sprained area and be like, well, I think I can go suit up. For this guy, it's either one or two avenues of thinking, and we brought this up. It's either his low threshold for pain or he's damn seriously injured. It's one of the two because they can't keep pulling this David Copperfield, or what is that guy, the mind freak magician, whatever.
Chris Angel.
I mean, are we starting to believe that we're going to do illusions and we're going to buy what the New York Knicks is telling us as far as with this guy's injury? There is something rotten in the apple right now, and it might have a worm in it too. But there is something just really not smelling good about Ogugawa being out this damn long after being out that long previously, because we can only, once again, assume we found out about the injury after he had the surgery. We're like, oh, he's got to have surgery, and they're like, no, he had surgery. We're just telling you 4 weeks later that he had it, and this is what's going on with him. But needless to say, we still have no real clue or idea as to what is really going on with the initial injury, and now we move forward to now what is an irritation of the injury that's now. I as a Knicks fan, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm losing my positivity surrounding his return this year. It didn't see, as someone who's hurt a knee before and knows that you can have setbacks in your recovery, that's what it felt like to me. Like, yes, I saw him swipe down and that's what aggravated it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you hurt it. You might have scar tissue in there. There might be something in there your body is still breaking through. So when you make that movement, it hurts. Breaking scar tissue hurts. So that's what I thought it was. And it's still a possibility that that's all it is. But the more he stays out, the more I start saying, like, hey, it's either he hurt himself again, or like you said before, he just doesn't want to play until he's 100%. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, like I'm sorry. And I get it. And I understand these guys have, financial reasons not to want to play when they're hurt and preserve their career. I get all of that. But nothing's going to be more of a boost to you than having a strong playoff run and, making it to the finals, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see the point where, yeah, but it's not your knee. It's not your ankle. It's not a leg thing for you.
No.
So it's not your shoulder, it's not like Randall, I understand it's his shoulder. Like that's something you move your arm all the time in basketball, up, down, block shots, play defense. Your shoulder controls all of that.
Absolutely.
I know your elbow controls something, but your elbow just goes back and forth this way. That's it. You can't turn and that your elbow doesn't do stuff like that. So to me, I'm like, all right, is this guy just a wimp? I hate to say it, but I'm gonna keep it 100. Is he just a wimp? And that's fine if he is, if he's a wimp, that's cool. But this man has a contract coming up. This is a contract year for him. Reportedly he wanted to break the bank, or that's what we heard. Like he wants to get a lot of money. If I'm the Knicks right now, I'm looking at the calendar like you missed this many games, you missed these many games. If you come back in the playoffs and play great, that's great. But you also have a history of injuries.
Yes.
History of not playing through pain. I'm sorry. I'm going to be like, you might want a certain amount of money, but not only am I not going to pay you that, I'm going to let every other team know, hey, this guy doesn't, he doesn't play through injuries, doesn't do whatever. So that's my biggest thing. Like, yes, I'm looking at this year. Obviously, I want to see what happens in the playoffs. I want to see them make a run. But with the other guy, with Randall's kind of iffy status now, that I'm leaning more towards that we're not seeing him this year at all. Yeah. With him, I'm realistic about what their chances might be. So I'm thinking already long term. I know they gave up two guys to get him, two young, promising players to get this guy. So I understand they kind of have to keep him. But I'm gonna be that dollar amount's going for going less and less each game he misses. I'm like,
you got to check him down. I mean, it reminds me. I don't want to put him at this guy's level, but it's just when you keep hearing these things, it's not saying he's Ben Simmons, but he might be Grim Simmons. I mean, he might be Jim Simmons,
Kawhi, right?
Kawhi-ish. I mean, we know Kawhi's threshold. We don't know what that threshold is. We just know that when he doesn't feel emotionally supported in his injuries, he wants to be either traded to Canada or back to LA We just know that he does not want to go through and endure
Yeah.
what he deems as him not feeling 100%. And it's kind of a crazy notion because when you reach a certain point in the season, no one is absolutely 100%. Everybody's healthy, unhealthy, dealing with injuries, nicks, bruises, all kinds of stuff. And to know that this guy, if he is checking out because of a pain threshold, then wow, you got rid of two guys who probably would have ran through walls. As Nick favorites, who never complained. You never questioned whether or not they were going to suit up, with an injury or et cetera. Um, you got to think about Ben Simmons, not because I think Ogugu is mentally checked out like him, but it's the investment part of Ben Simmons, what we see the Nets going through with having that big contract on your books for a guy who, similar to Ben Simmons, plays a very defensive role. It's not, you don't bring him in for your offense. You're bringing him really in to be a solidified glue player and to bring some toughness to your team. If he can't be tough and he can't be available, how the hell do you pay that dude? You cannot open the full Brinks truck up and back it up to Madison Square Garden and say, give him all he wants. This is a tough moment that the Knicks, as Knicks fans, we need to be have a little curdled stomach because two of your main players now that you are believing are going to be your pieces moving forward in Julius Randle and Ogugu, you are now seeing these two guys have injury issues with some serious damn question marks. We have no clue. So I don't know. This is we're in some very murky territory right now that I'm a little leery of because those guys are so important for the benefit of us getting further in the playoffs and in the future.
Yeah, and our former co-host Greg is in the chat today. What's up, Greg? He brought up the question: Are they asking him? Are they holding him for the playoffs? It's possible.
Hopefully.
I think that would be our best case right now. Both him and Randall, and that would be the best case scenario that they're going to keep both of them out and see what happens in the playoffs. But it just, as Knicks fans, we've been here before. Like, we know with this organization how they like to hide certain things with injuries to players, and we understand this isn't our first rodeo with this team, so we understand the things that they've done in the past, and we're just kind of a little bit leery about what exactly they might be doing or what might be wrong. We famously know they're not forthcoming with any injuries. They are the closest to, because in hockey you just have to say upper body, lower body. Like, you don't have to say what the injury actually is. The Knicks are the closest NBA team to an NHL team that I know. Like, if the littlest amount of information they could give you, that's what they do. Whatever they're required, that's what they'll do. So yeah, I mean, the other thing with him is the guy who has been playing his minutes mostly is like Josh Hart and I guess McBride a little bit now as well. Yeah. But by him staying out and them not having him, those guys are going to be tired. Let's not forget that Josh Hart came into the season complaining about being tired because he played basketball on the World Cup team.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a trickle down effect. When one guy's out, the other guys have to step up, especially with this coach who doesn't extend the bench. We're still waiting for shake your booty to get some minutes, to get some meaningful minutes, right? Yeah, Craig. See, I got you. I was a little early, but I got you with this one. But yeah, we're kind of wait. He's a proven player. He's played minutes, important minutes in the NBA before. He's played playoff minutes. He's a veteran. So I mean, you have a guy on the team you could put into action. But yeah, again, with this coach, it's just guys he trusts. He only plays guys he trusts, and I guess he doesn't trust this dude yet. Actually, when they got him, I thought that's why they got him. Like, to
who wouldn't think that? I was laughing even the last game. Alec Burks was out and shake
that's
that
true.
and still didn't even get in the game until it was the butt ass minutes of the game, and that was in a blowout. It's like, do you not think that you should maybe get this guy some tread on the tires and see how he runs on the road a little bit, because you're going to need the depth, because being that the injuries have obviously blasted us throughout the whole season, your depth is very important, and players that can contribute in a pinch might be an answer. The fact that we've seen Deuce, we've seen Josh Hart played these long games like now, with these heavy minutes, we're thinking, I know I'm thinking at least that it's going to be probably these guys in a 9-man rotation taking maybe 8-man rotation, I should say, absorbing all of these minutes in the playoffs. And they are not as great as they've played and as wonderful as the game, these guys have showed moxie, they've just showed up, ready to go and everything, and they've produced. Playoffs is a whole different animal. And you're going to ask these guys now that are role players to come in and now be stars for you and log in a lot of minutes. This can get ugly very quick against the wrong team. And it would be the best in the best interest of the Knicks if a guy like Shake, and we often talk about Bojan, we maybe bring him up later. Bojan is another dude. Like, I know people, Knicks fans are jumping all over him, like hot pepper, and saying, oh, he sucks. Well, you need him to unsuck. You need to make sure that this coach figures out a way to get these guys going, because if you go Jalen Brunson or bust in the playoffs, or Jalen Brunson and Donte bust in the playoffs, we're out in the first round. You're going to be out in the first round. You got to figure out a way to get some of these guys going, especially if a Google was out, and Randall, to me, seems like he could probably be out too. I'm just not counting on either guy coming back, no matter what they tell us, because there's no evidence showing that they're back. Like, you need the chemistry at least. I know Craig brought up before about bringing them in during the playoffs. That could be disastrous. If you haven't played regular season basketball with your teammates enough to get in a good rhythm, now all of a sudden you're going to throw them into a buzzsaw and tell them to go face the Milwaukee Bucks, or go face Miami Heat, especially if they win against the Heat right now in a playoff situation. You think Spoelstra is not going to outcoach Thibodeau? You're lying to yourself. He will. The only thing is talent. Talent is the only thing going to overcome the Heat, the Knicks not losing to Miami. It's going to be talent.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, he outcoached them last year, so I would not expect that to be any different this year. So we're going to see what happens going forward. This is going to be an interesting thing, how they approach this and how they decide to how he decides to play the roster. But they have to, with all the injuries, they kind of have to. He has to do something. Something has to give, or else the other guys are going to get hurt. And then what do you do? Right before the playoffs, then what do you do? So we did have some good fortune on Monday. Was it Monday? Tuesday. It was Monday. I'm losing my mind. On Monday, yes, Monday against the Detroit Pistons, who are just god awful. I mean, they had nobody either, so they're even more god awful that game. But they are just a god awful basketball team. But Donte DiVincenzo set a new Knick record. It was 11 threes, right? He had 11 threes.
11 should have been 12. It's 11.
Yeah, he had 11 threes in the game, breaking Evan Fournier's record of 10, I believe it was.
Evans and J.R. Smith's also. They shared.
Yes. Yeah, so in a season where he has proven to be well worth the money, we all talk about what a great cheap signing Jalen Brunson was. Well, this dude has also been a revelation, and it was a tremendous signing because he's really picked up the scoring slack with Julius Randle out. Like, that's where I look every time I see now, why have they, been able to maintain at least? It's him. He's been the guy scoring the points. Mm-hmm. So, the Knicks might have solved the shooting guard issue as well. So here we go. It was really cool to watch and see him have that moment. We could talk about Monty's comments if you want to. I don't know if I want to, but we've talked about him already in the past, but is this the limit? Like, can we see more from him? Do you think he's just gaining confidence?
I think the more you could see for him is some of the things that I have seen that have been even more positive than his 3-point shooting, and that's his finishes at the rim. That's been the knock on Donte DiVincenzo, is his inability he can fly, which is one of the weirdest dynamics. He's got shump hands, I guess is the best way to say it. Mon Shumper, that Mon could jump out the gym. He just couldn't keep his, I don't know if he had some chicken grease on his fingertips, or, I don't know what he ate before he came to the game, but he could never hold on to the ball when he got to the rim. The same thing kind of applied to Donte once he elevates. I don't know if it's that last second touch, as I call it. RJ seemed to have an issue with it. that last little bit of touch to get it on the glass the right way and not get these bad bounces has been the nemesis of Donte DiVincenzo, probably going from just this guy who can shoot to being an electric NBA player all around. He has the defense. We know that. He's very tenacious on the ball. He gets a lot of deflections. He mans the hell up. We can see that in his game. We've seen, obviously, hence my name, Dante's sniper rifle. He's just a sniper. Those days of spending time with Steph Curry have honestly paid off. We can see, I would say, iron sharpens iron. Clearly, it sharpened Dante's vision and his expertise when it comes to shooting. If he ever could finish at a great clip at the rim with the leaping ability he has, there's no limit of his game. Literally, this is what we're waiting for. It's really, he's a little undersized, but somebody that people have been clamoring for in New York is undersized too in Donovan Mitchell. Because essentially, when we're looking at, and I had this discussion with people on another thread with regards to the fact that, is there a need for Mitchell? That was the question brought up. And I'm like, well, when you look at what Brunson brings, and of course what we're seeing from Donte DiVincenzo with the shooting, you don't need another backcourt player. You really don't. If this is going to be his norm, and then he's going to get better and improve in this lineup with the chemistry, the competitive nature that is Donte DiVincenzo, all that you see right now, him and with Brunson, the Villanova trio, the Nova boys, whatever you want to call them, this ish works. It works. I don't know, maybe the friendships, I don't know what it is. This works because you can be friends and still not get along. So we're not even trying to hear about it being a friendship. It's just the chemistry. These guys, they're on the same page with basketball. Their mindsets, the way they find each other on the floor, the way they take up for each other. One steps, if one's not on, the other one steps up in his place. Same thing can be said for Josh Hart. But we're talking about Donte DiVincenzo right now. You have an answer at shooting guard. I would have never thought when he came in, and believe you me, I was a Donte DiVincenzo fan from Villanova. I wish the Knicks were able to draft him. I've always been a person who likes his game. However, when looking at it, no one saw this thing coming up where we think that, I was thinking bench depth, like he could be a backup. He could be a combo guard backup. But to think that now the Knicks may have their backcourt, which is something I don't think, when the last time we even said that? Somebody pinched me when we said it. We have a backcourt now that not only, they might be a little undersized for the taste of many, but their heart is way taller than their bodies. When you watch how they play, and just the fact that they got some Spaldings. These dudes got some Spaldings when it comes to taking big shots. Those 11 shots, which I thought should have been 12. I don't know what this replay gang is going on in the NBA where you're now reviewing 3-point shots. You can't even get the damn call right when someone challenges it. But you had enough understanding. So let's call Secaucus and find out what the hell his foot was at. This is it only the Knicks. Sometimes I see some of the things they've done in Knicks games. I'm like, did they just reinvent this? Was this a new rule? Who the hell notices anything? What was the thing with Ogugu? He swatted the ball. I've never even heard that play. I don't know if anybody remembers that. He punched the ball, I guess, like to try to get the ball. He's like, oh, that's a violation. Yeah. This is a Tyson punching violation that the NBA installed. You can't punch a ball. I'm like, where the hell did this technical come from? I've watched this game for most of my life, and I've never even heard that be called, let alone now we're seeing them go and say, let's review whether or not a hairpin of his sneaker went out of bounds. That dude had 12 threes as far as I'm concerned. He was inching closer to hitting the record for the NBA. It was just some hot-ass garbage that the NBA decided to pull on Donte. I'm riding for you, Donte. But needless to say, the dude is a baller. That's the key. The Knicks have some ballers in here that are tough. If he was 6'6", goodness gracious, imagine if that dude had the height. Not that he needs it. He plays, like I said, bigger than his height, but in the same sense, I think if he was tall, I think most people would still be saying a lot of what I'm saying is that we've got answers at shooting guard. He's just as dynamic as any other player you can put in the league outside if you want a high flyer like Donovan Mitchell, because that's the only separation right now, as far as I'm concerned, is that Donovan Mitchell is more of a dynamic physical talent. He can jump out the gym a lot more. He's probably stronger than Donte DiVincenzo. But man, when we talk about shooting, that dude has been lit for the last 2 games on a epic level that only someone that you see like Steph or Clay get that hot, or maybe Dame Dollar, they get hot to the point you're like, well, you might be going home tonight because they're not missing a damn shot. And that's what he's become.
Yeah, I don't think you want redundancy, and that's what Mitchell would be. Again, not that he's not a fantastic player. I say all the time. I famously wanted to draft him.
Yep.
So it's not, it's not that he's not a fantastic player. He's fantastic, but he's kind of a more athletic version of what Brunson gives us, right? And you don't I don't know if you play them together how that would impact one guy as opposed to the other. I do think Brunson could deal with it because he played with Luka, so I think he has that mentality that hey, I can fit in and play if I need to be that role. Mitchell, one of the reasons why I think he left Utah and why Garland's having such a problem or this season hasn't been as good in Cleveland is because Mitchell can't do that.
Okay.
And that's the difference. So, we brought up Donovan Mitchell because he's been the guy most linked to the Knicks, I think, and it still seems it's just a matter of time before he's available and he's going to want to come here. But I don't think it's so much you need him anymore. I think now it'd be more of a luxury if they wanted to add somebody like him because they've built a team around Brunson with players who fit his mold, fit his image, and play like he plays. It's not a coincidence that they're all from Villanova, but but hey, shout out, you got to give props to Jay Wright, man. He built a program and he taught these guys to play a certain way, and they continue to play that way in the NBA. This isn't just the college, it's not just these guys that we know. Mikal Bridges, on the Nets, obviously. I mean, Eric Pascal had a cup of coffee in the NBA. He went to Nova.
Sadiq Bey.
Yep. Sadiq Bey, another guy.
Greg's favorite person, Kyle Lowry, another Villanova dude.
Well, yeah, he's an older one, but yeah, I mean, these guys all come from that program, and he turns out NBA players. Villanova has become what everyone thought Kentucky would be.
Yeah, exactly.
And although Kentucky does turn out better star players, in my opinion, because they have, they've gotten the better star players, more talented players in history, historically.
Yeah.
I mean, Randall has become a great player, right? He's become a really good player and an All-NBA type player from Kentucky. Towns is another one. Anthony Davis is another one. Like these guys, Maxey, they're all fantastic and really good NBA players, but they're different, right? Like, they don't. To me, Randall has that grime and that grit to his game, but I don't see it as much with Towns, right? You don't see it as much with Davis.
Yeah.
Maybe Maxey has it a little bit. These guys, they're a little different in the way that they were built. They're kind of like the Knicks have a lot of how do I put it? The Knicks have a lot of pickup trucks and those kinds of cars, like the nice luxury style pickup trucks. And the Kentucky players, those guys I'm talking about, they're more like sleeky, fast sports cars. They're, they have the game, they have the talent, they're flashy at times, but sometimes they don't have the grit and grind to continue and power through. I think
they can't go off road. That's really what it comes down to. They can't go off road. They don't have the grind to go off road. So Randall does. Randall's the lone Kentucky player I've seen that has that. I can go off road and be rugged. Maybe he's a little too rugged sometimes. That's the issue.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I mean, again, credit to Jay Wright, credit to that program. He built a program with guys who play that way, and we're just the beneficiary of it right now because we have 3 of them. That's the way I'm looking at it. And we have a coach who demands that. The coach demands that guys play that way. So, we'll see how it goes. But man, he's been again great contract with Donte as well. He's fairly cheap for the production he's giving. I was looking over his stats. He's shooting. You said the layups and the finishing at the rim have always been an issue. Well, he started to figure it out last year in Golden State, and he's even better this year. Because on 2-point shots last year he shot 53%, and then this year he's shooting 54%. So he's figuring it out on the 2-point shots that to round out his game and make him a more efficient player, which I think that's the key word in the NBA now, efficient. Everyone wants to be efficient.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing with him. And it's been fantastic. So on trade night, on the trade deadline night, everyone said, "Oh, the Knicks won the trade deadline because they traded and got Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic from Detroit." So funny what a little over a month, a little over a month and a half has done to people with that line of thinking. Because now all I hear about from fans is they're both bums. Get them out of here. They don't know how to play. Okay, look,
Yeah.
this is what I'm putting on the screen right here, guys. You have to understand something. With Burks is a little bit more surprising to me because he was here before, played for this coach. So I didn't expect his transition to be problematic, but we discussed this already. He hasn't really been good for the past few years. So he's kind of just reverting to what he's always been. He might come playoff time. There might be a game he does go off and save you and win a game for you in the fourth. He has that ability. We've seen him do it before. But this guy, okay, guys, he was averaging 20 points per game. I know it was on a bad Detroit team, but you don't just forget how to do that, going from one city to another in the same freaking season. This isn't like he's, we had a summer and this is a new year. No. It's the same season.
Same season.
So be patient. That's my call out with him. Be patient. Trust me. He's a very smart, very good, quality NBA scorer. He can score points. Yes, he's a shooter. Everyone's like, he's just like Evan. Not so much.
No.
Evan was more of a slasher who can when he was in his best in his career, a slasher who hit threes. Yeah. Bojan likes to work the middle. He can work the mid range. He can step out a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, get a little closer to the basket. He can post up, very fundamentally sound, as all European players usually are. So that's my message. Just be patient with this dude. Because I'm telling you, come playoff time, when things start rounding into form, they're going to need him.
Yeah.
They're going to need him. But Ty, watching him, what are you noticing that you think is holding him back a little bit, if anything?
Besides the clipboard?
Yeah, besides the clipboard, yeah.
Well, I mean, when I look at, me and you have talked about this a little bit offline to be forthcoming, but the thing that I find to be an issue is that people don't watch basketball. See, sometimes basketball, it requires you to not watch with emotion for your team, but just watch. We're talking about the one thing I would say is you're really your average. Whatever your career average is, what you are as a player. So when you want to review a player, and this is just my math, you look at their career numbers. And if their career numbers saying that they were a player, most of their career, that is who the player is. The question is always about fit, with the coach or with the teammates, and what are you being asked to do on this team that you weren't asked to be, they didn't actually do on prior stops. This phrase you've never heard probably about Bojan, which is Bojan off the bounce. You probably never heard that on any other team, but he's doing that on the Knicks. Off the bounce. Bojan off the bounce said no other team before that he ever played for, because no one would ask him to be an isolation player. He's not an isolation player. But what we see him do now is like, oh, this goes back to the Tom Thibodeau that anyone can do what is asked on the court. We saw with Alec Burks, who played point guard that one year when he had point guards on the team. We all like Scooby-Doo's van, looking around trying to unmask the mystery person that decided that was a bright-ass idea, and we know it was a terrible idea. He should have never played point because he's not a point guard. He can maybe spend some minutes at the point, but he's not the person you put out and roll out for a full-time job. Same thing with Bojan. Can Bojan go off the bounce a little bit? Absolutely. Should he do that all game against a defense and he's like slow of foot and he's not the most athletic guy? Hell no. When you've seen him get opportunities, scoring opportunities when he's been his best, is a little bit in that mid-range area where he's running off of a pick, or he might get sprayed to the corner and he has an open shot. That's his game. That requires him to have help. The one thing we've learned about Tom Thibodeau, yeah, we've got guys that are excelling playing with him, and that's fantastic. But not every person is fit to play the style of basketball he's asking them to play. You're asking for heavy isolation basketball. That's what our offense is. There's no scheme. Anybody who says they've seen Tom Thibodeau run a play out of a timeout or set up a half court are liars, because we have not seen that all. I haven't seen it in 4 years. If you've seen it, please put up a clip where you've seen him go on the clipboard, draw up a play, and he goes out and out of the timeout, and you go, wow, he really drew that play well. No, it was called give it to Brunson, give it to someone, and let them work and make something happen. What does it say? The game shows you what to do. That is the offense that the Knicks play. So if you got a guy like Bojan who's on the floor, and you're saying I'm going to put that in that guy's hand, the ball in that guy's hands, and he's not a great dribbler, he's not a great off-the-bounce player, and you're saying now go out there and go face a defense with not a great spacing. So you didn't put him out there with a bunch of other shooters that will open up those lanes for him. So now you might have him out there with like a Jericho Sims, who everybody knows is not going to score. They know he's not going to score. You got Precious Achiuwa out there, and I love Precious Durant. Don't get me wrong. But you know he's probably not going to stretch the floor and start hitting threes all game. So now all of a sudden, now you got a clogged in space, and you're asking this guy to hope that someone is good enough to run a pick for him to get open. But all teams know where the ball is going because you have no other scorers out there. I mean, come on, you got a 1 + 1 equals 2. You got to watch the game before you say that player sucks. He can't suck. He's got a lot of money, and his career averages say he doesn't suck. He's all of a sudden coming here and he's terrible. We saw the same thing with a guy like Obi. Now that Obi, I think, is Bojan. We've seen it with RJ. RJ flourished more now in Toronto. System players need systems. That's just exactly what we're going through with Bojan. It's the coach's job to try to find a way of getting him open, to find more opening avenues, because you need to feature the guy, because you need those 19 points he's capable of doing, because you've got guys that can't score other than Deuce McBride. Once Deuce McBride comes off the bench, and which you've had to bring him off, now you need that guy replacing it. And he's not, and you're not bringing him in there with any set plays to run. What do you expect is going to happen? Did he say that? Oh, he said, I heard Stein. Thank God. But when you're seeing that about Bojan, that's what's missing. This is not Evan Fournier, but even Evan was out of place because he was a system guy. These guys aren't terrible basketball players. It's just the knock, obviously, him being a Euro. And definitely with Evan, any French guy coming here that's not a French fry, New Yorkers are going to run him out of the place. We just had bad lucks, and I think they swipe all Euro players the same and think that they're all French and that they're going to be terrible. But Bojan is not a terrible basketball player. We just don't have an offense to run the right run players through. We just don't. So you're asking guys to to be outside of their norm. That's a lot of why you're seeing Burke struggle. He's coming out there. He's playing like he's a small forward now. He's all of a sudden now he's coming out. He's Kawhi Leonard. He's doing all this dribbling. And it's like, dude, your bag is not even like that. You couldn't even get in a target bag. That's just not your damn game. You're isolating Alec Burks and telling him to go ISO and get a bucket. The dude's shooting percentage is terrible this year. You had a guy shooting higher three than he is two, and you asking him to operate in the mid-range? That's why the failures happen. It's not because these guys are terrible. The system does not fit them, and now you're asking guys to play out of a bag they've never been in the first place. That's why the struggles. He's not a terrible player. He's a little slow. Anybody who's slow, we've seen with RJ, they just don't like him. They go, oh, he can't bowl, he can't jump. RJ's getting 20-something points, shooting more efficient. Yeah, he can ball. Everybody can ball in the NBA. It's got to be the right fit.
Yeah, I mean it. And again, like I said, they haven't been here that long, right? Like
3 weeks.
It's hard. It's hard to have guys switch systems in the middle of a season, towards the end of a season, especially when you're coming to a playoff team, because the players on the team are good already. So now you're being asked to do, to play. He's being asked to play, first of all, to play less minutes. He's being asked to play lesser of a role. Mm-hmm. He was getting a lot more touches with Detroit. Again, like I said, he was averaging 20. So he was one of their main players. He's not getting those opportunities here. So, he has to adjust as well. It's going to take time for that to happen. And unfortunately, in the NBA, when you get traded, that time isn't afforded to you in practice. You don't get that practice time So they're pretty much doing this on the fly. So I'm just saying, give him time. I'm not sure about Burks. Burks honestly just could be at the end
Yeah.
um, in that respect. But with this guy, he's been too good a player and too productive a player for him to just have lost it all of a sudden because he's a Knick, guys. It doesn't work that way. So just be patient with him. So I put this up and I wanted to bring it up because they both were former Knicks. Both Nick just this season, not even that long ago, like we just said, they were traded for the guys we were talking about. No, they weren't. Sorry, they were traded for OG. So, but yes, RJ Barrett's younger brother committed suicide. Uh, man, tragic. That's just
I never.
that alone is tragic. Yeah, but yes, Barrett's brother passed away, and he's not playing tonight. He's still in bereavement, which obviously is understandable. So I just wanted to send condolences to him. And Emmanuel Quickly's uncle apparently had passed away as well. And he is also not available. So I've seen some terrible things by Knicks fans saying, "Oh, they just didn't want to play." Come on, like yes, I've seen those kinds of takes. So
Shame on them.
please spare me, guys. Don't be those people.
Yeah, dude.
Um, yeah, don't be those kinds of people and say stuff like that. Clearly, this is very tragic. It's more tragic with RJ, and I don't know about Quickly's uncle. I don't know how he passed, but it's always sad when you lose somebody. So give these guys their space. Again, we always say once a Nick, always a Nick.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
two guys were Knicks. So condolences to you two guys, to them, as they deal with the death of their family members. Um, so this was a bit of good news. Um, so yes, it was reported yesterday that Nick second round draft pick and Lithuanian star Rokas Jakubaitis is going to finally be coming over. Yeah, he's finally said he wants to try and pursue his NBA dream. So he's going to be coming over this summer, playing in the summer league, and then the Knicks own his rights. So we got to see a little bit of him in this past summer. If you watched any of the World Cup, the international competition, he balled out, man. He looks like he could definitely play in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Ty, I brought this up to you. So you give me your rundown. I brought this up. I said, how come when we needed good guards, we couldn't have any? Now we have an abundance of them, and now we have another guy who we might have to throw into the mix. So, what do you think they do here with him?
Well, it's apropos for the Knicks. You know, when we think about even in our prominent years, when we look at Allen Houston and Sprewell, they were two shooting guards. We're like, no, we don't need a point guard. Let's put two shooting guards in the backcourt. Then we went through our power forward phase where everybody was a power forward. We just owned a whole team full of power forwards.
That's true, yeah.
Now we're at the phase of having a bunch of undersized guards because we never had one before. You know, like Jalen Brunson, like replicated like some gremlins. Now they're popping up everywhere. We have them all over our team. Wow. I mean, he's a talent. I mean, we've seen that. We've heard about his success over in Europe. You know, when he played here for the summer league, he did play that one couple of games, and he did show out pretty well. People were pretty impressed with what they've seen from him. I don't think you could ever be short of point guards. The Knicks do need a legitimate backup point guard. And no offense to Deuce McBride, I just think he's probably a two guard. You know, he's just undersized. But, you know, his job has been to come in, play solid defense, which would be befitting next to him, putting him next to a guard that doesn't play defense, you know, so he can kind of pick up the slack. I think it's a great sign because he's definitely pass first. He offers something that Brunson doesn't do. He has vision. He can play the point, kind of get the offense set up. It comes down to this coach. It's always down to the coach and his view of what he believes his players like. I don't know who Jakubaitis' game is as far as defensively, but I do know what he offers from the offensive standpoint. I think he would be a brilliant fit for a team that is looking to find some sort of organization in the second unit, because that seems to be the struggle that we're seeing now. We have Josh Hart, who's a starter. He's starting now because Randall's out there, but when we get back in the pecking order, say we bring back Randall, say we bring back Ogugawa, and they're all in the starting five. Is your bench better being ran through Deuce McBride at the point? or would you be better fit if you ran Jakob Badas at the point, Deuce at the two as a backup or whatever you want to do, or combo guard, and naturally Hart will come in and do what he does. I'm one of those people that believe the depth is always great. I think the Knicks have always needed another type of point guard on this team other than what Brunson brings to kind of put the glue together. And I think he would be a brilliant fit. The question is whether or not this coach believes in him or believes in his ability and would utilize him the way that we as fans sometimes kind of perceive the game and think that we would need. Like, I always think, you got a point guard, we need a pass first point guard. This to kind of set up the things that we're seeing with Bojan, that he shouldn't be getting his own shot. He should be a product of an offense, not be the offense. So, when you're seeing that, I think he would be a brilliant fit. But come summer league, man, if he doesn't bust, become like the summer league MVP, I don't trust Tom Thibodeau to say, bring this dude in and give him minutes. Because he thinks Deuce is like Allen Iverson, or Chris Paul or whatever. More or less Chris Paul, I guess, would be more befitting of that caliber point guard. Because this is not knocking Deuce. Deuce has been lights out. I love it that we got a homegrown that is actually balling. It's just more so when we talk about basketball and having options, and creating more dynamics and mismatches. I think he could offer that for the Knicks. Like I said, solidifying that the backup role. But
yeah,
it comes down to the coach. It's everything. Throw all basketball books out the way. Don't tell me if a guy can play. Don't tell me how great he is. Don't tell me he's super talented. This coach don't give a damn about that. He just doesn't.
I know.
He doesn't give a damn about it. He wants his certain type of guy playing a certain style of basketball, and he believes that those guys that he has right now are capable of doing anything another dynamic talent can do that's in the NBA that's an all-star caliber player. He does not view it. He thinks Josh Hart is Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't see it like, oh, we need Kawhi. He's like, we got Kawhi. Literally. That's how he views certain guys on his team. So, we've heard Jakob Badas, one of his knocks was he didn't come over early because he didn't think he would play. He was like, I'm not coming over to sit or be in the G League. Shot was those buck. Those are shots to Tom Thibodeau because that's what he does. He would even end up putting you somewhere in that position. So who knows? I would love to see him. I don't know if he's going to be able to stick here.
Yeah, I've been looking at his stats and what he's doing. He's playing in the what is considered the second best league in the world, which is the league the ACB league in Spain. And he's shooting this season. He's shooting over 50% both from 2 and from 3. Yeah. So he definitely seems like he's ready to come here. The question the reason why I asked is, what do you think the Knicks are going to do? Is because they just have a lot of guys now. So it's good to have these options because they have tradable options now. So whether they include him in the trade or McBride, which I don't see, but whether they do that or include one of those guys in a trade to get that other player that everyone seems to still want. I'm kind of like this on it now, but we'll talk about it, as that season comes to a close. But yeah, the way I look at it is like this. He's coming here to play. So he's not coming here not to play. So if he is coming here and the Knicks don't have a plan for him, then trade him. Include him in some deal and get what you can for him, because I don't want to screw up another asset. And this guy was a second-round pick. He wasn't a first-round pick. He was a second-round pick. So the fact that we got a European in the second round, they're Nikola Jokic, Manu Ginobili. I can bring up a lot of second-round picks who flourished and became great NBA players. So, do something with him if he's coming here. Don't just be like, and then stick him at the end of the bench. And if he shows he can play in the summer league, like dominate the summer league and just beat the crap out of these young guys, and then in camp he starts showing out and playing well, then include him in some kind of a deal, and maximize the asset while you have him, or keep him and get rid of somebody else who maybe is more desirable to another team because other teams don't know about this kid as much. Whatever. Just be smart with the asset, because I don't know. This team tends to not do that with Obi Toppin, and you know, there's been other guys, but he's the most prominent one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I definitely, but I'm interested to see him back. He did play, I think, or was that the other guy they took?
No, he played a couple summer league games. This guy
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
he
he
went.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He,
who's the Jazz Mataz? Jazz
there was
something?
another guy who came, and
Yeah.
then he said something about he was intimidated by the defense. Just played at the NBA level, and was like, "Well, he's not going to last." And then he looked like a really good point guard. He had some flash to his game, and they were like, "Nah, you gonna pack your bags. You're not even making it out of Vegas. We send him back." And so he didn't want none of the smoke in the NBA. Clearly, if you complain about Vegas, you really don't want to play in the NBA. So that's literally what.
Okay.
I can't think of his name. He got a similar name to
Yeah,
this. Too.
I'm gonna find. I can't say it. Yaramaz is his last name.
Yeah,
Yaramaz.
yeah. Yeah.
That was in the Frank draft. So here you go. That was in the Frank Damian Dotson draft.
Yeah.
Man, where is Damian Dotson? Is he even in the NBA anymore?
Somebody posted that before. I mean, he was like the dude. I mean, a lot of guys love Damian Dotson, or fans, I should say. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's not. No.
I was never a big fan of his, but that's just.
He hasn't been in the league for 2 seasons now. I was just wondering where the heck he went.
He might be on the jet with Diddy, Alonzo Trier, in Young Miami.
Wow, you have to put him with Diddy, huh?
I don't know where Alonzo Trier at. I don't even know where he's at anymore. That's
Yeah, man, that's a good question.
a guy who just fell off of the map. I don't think he was a terrible player. I just don't know what. There must be some behind the scene things that we didn't know about, because he wasn't terrible. He just
Trier. Yeah.
ISO Zell, whatever they called him.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah. There was something. He used to tweet, and then he stopped tweeting, and then he disappeared. And I was like, "What's going on with this dude?" And all of a sudden, he was out of the league.
He's a whole weirdo. He left once the Knicks. I think he had a little stint, I think, in Brooklyn at one point. He tried to get in Brooklyn, and he disappeared. You didn't see him anymore. The Waldo shirt came on, and he was gone.
I don't know, man. But yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I'm really interested. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with him. Again, he's an asset. He was a pick. Yeah. One of those guys that they said, "Oh, we could stash in at first." Like, he didn't want to come here, so it was kind of like, "Okay, go season your game and come over." I think I think the success in the World Cup last summer probably had him like, I could play with these guys. Like, I could play against these dudes.
Most of those guys in the league, they can ball. I mean, he's probably looking at Luka, and Luka thinks the NBA is easy, which is not saying much for the NBA. He thinks that this is not even hard, because he's playing like it's not even tough. The way he's scoring.
That's what Victor said too, right? Victor said it wasn't physical enough in the NBA. That's what Victor said.
Shouldn't Americanize, and this is going out to you American players, which happen to most of you be painted in my hue here. You should be embarrassed that they think you're soft. I'm just gonna throw it right out there to y'all, because it was first that the Euros were soft, and they're going, whatever language they're telling it in, you translate it. They're saying you soft. Now think about that. There was never a time that the NBA was thought to be soft. They were like, the Euros coming over here are doing the flopping and have a soft middle, and they're not really willing to be tough. Now the Europeans are coming over here, and I should say foreigners in general. You know what I've said? The top 5 players in the league, and maybe 6 now, because you can throw SGA in it because he's from Canada, they're not American. They're just not. They're not American players. They just happen to play in America. You name the top 5 guys, they're European or foreigners. It's not, don't let cousin B plays for Team USA. He's from Cameroon. So listen, the accent gave it away to begin with. There is no Jokic is number 1 in my book, best player on the planet until proven otherwise. Luka's probably number 2. When you think about what he offers and brings, if you start a franchise, you take that dude. You got Giannis. That's 3. You got Embiid at 4. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander probably at 5, who may be the MVP if Jokic doesn't win. I mean, I don't even want to go to 6. It's probably another European or foreigner that's number 6 too. Because when you get to the Americans, now you're talking probably Tatum, if you want to throw him in that, and some people are not even putting him there.
I'd probably still have Durant.
They probably got Durant at 6 and LeBron at 7, which is absolutely absurd when you think about it. And I mean, come on,
Curry.
So probably Curry comes before Tatum. I'm going to say Curry before Tatum because of the resume, and he just recently won a title 2 years ago. So you have Curry, who's probably the best American, and he's 6 and he's old.
Yeah, he's in his 30s. Right?
So you don't have an American player that you go, oh, I'm putting it on. Maybe Ant-Man's coming to be that guy. A lot of people think
I was just going to say.
He's probably the number 7 or 8 player right now.
Tatum, Devin. Yeah, Tatum.
Now we can't figure out whose team it is. That's just really what the Boston thing is. You might can throw Brunson somewhere in the 15 range because
Devin Booker. You got to throw Booker. Devin Booker's in there.
So you got the Americans are not even hitting the top 6. That's some crazy stuff when you think about it as an American player. You're supposed to grow up on the damn playgrounds playing tough ball. Y'all are getting massages and pedicures and just soft. Don't play defense against me in practice, Booker.
Yeah, I mean the AAU circuit changed all that. These kids aren't playing in the summers on outside like we did. No. Yep. They're playing in gyms with corporate sponsorships and things like that. So it's definitely a different game for them. A lot of the young Canadian players did play in the United States though, like when high school, and a lot of them went to prep schools in the United States and stuff like that. So they have that's in their game. But yeah, I mean geographically, your birth certificate says Toronto, your birth certificate says Vancouver. You're Canadian. That's where you're from.
They say you are, and right now, he's balling. I mean, it's not like I'm taking something away from these guys. I mean, you can't watch a guy like Giannis play and say that he plays a soft game. He's probably the most player. He's relentless. I mean, I wish he was more skilled. His fundamentals is what jacked up. If he was skilled, I wouldn't know what to say about him. He might be the best player ever if he was more skilled.
The main difference between European basketball and American basketball, and it's always been this way, is that the young guys, when they get they're put in a system to play basketball at a young age, and then when they're growing up, they're not playing against their friends; they're playing against guys older than them.
They're adults.
That's what it is. So they're getting sharpened by age, right? Like they're getting sharpened by older guys, grown men who aren't who are playing for their salary, their families. They're not gonna take some young kid, no matter how good you are. They're gonna elbow you, lay you out. They're gonna do what they have to do to maintain their spot. Yeah, so that's the main difference. That is the main difference. The American system is AAU, and like I was saying, your corporate sponsors and everything's indoors, and you're playing guys your own age, and sometimes guys younger than you who just aren't as developed. Like famously I said 20 years ago, is LeBron really this good? He's playing against high school kids. Now he's turned out to be as good as he was, but at the time people were like, how could you say that? You're just a hater. I'm like, no, I'm just being real. He's so much bigger than everybody. So he should be dominating them. Like that's what was my point.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Oftentimes you see it in college. Like most of the college players of the year, the reason why they're really dominating is because they're bigger than the guys they're playing against, more physically, more imposing. Like you get a guy like Corliss Williamson who played for Arkansas, the Razorbacks, who won the NCAA tournament that year. He was a monster in college. Dudes didn't want to have any of that beef. He got here, and they're like, "You're going to the bench," because some grown ass men, real grown ass men with bald heads that were 20 years old, looked like they were 50 years old and muscular, like they went to jail. Was playing in the NBA, worried about their contract. So when a dude comes in there like, you're not eating off of me, right. I'm going to kick your ass. That's really what it came down to. So now, like you said, the competition is lowered. Young kids aren't tough. They're just bratty. So you're not going to get like people in there strapping for their last meal. Like, this is my contract and this is how I feed my family. Not the Latrell Sprewell kind of feed my family. These guys are really feeding their family back then. They were check to check, not getting big contracts. So yeah, definitely different.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we'll see. Like I said, that probably is why the European players are becoming the better players, because they've been playing against adults a little bit longer than our guys have. So it's less of a transition now for them. There used to be a huge transition, but the game has become so global that there's less of a transition when they're coming into the NBA than there ever has been before. So it's going to be interesting to see how that story evolves, because it's just beginning to be written. So.
It's funny you bring that up too, because I think about three guys who I like watch play. One happens to be a Knick. They have the oldest man games in the world.
It's true, yeah.
And they dominate. People have no answers for them, which I think is the most absurd thing. You can't stop Jokic. Jokic looks like he's still drinking beer during halftime. I mean, he just got the dad bod of the century. He looks like somebody's daddy who had a six-pack and was like, let me go have a halftime. And he's getting the easiest triple doubles. It's like the game is so easy to him. Same thing with Luka. I think Luka makes the game more difficult because he's more cute with his stuff. Like, what I mean by that, he wants to show you off. He wants to be there's a lot of gamemanship to his game. But then you get a guy like Brunson and Jokic that come out like, I'm gonna kick your ass because you can't stop anything I do. I'm gonna physically intimidate you. I'm gonna do this and that. And all of a sudden, these young guys are like, well, how the hell we guard him? Because you're dealing with grown-ass men, physically grown-ass men with slow games that use their intelligence. So, yeah, it's such a weird shift. Brunson makes no sense to be as great as he is.
It's true. I say it about Luka. I say it about all those guys. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that they're this good.
Nope.
I watch them play, and I'm like, they're slow. They're nothing particularly athletic about them, but they're smart. They have tremendous footwork. They know how to use their bodies to protect the basketball. Like, they're very, like you said, old man game is the perfect way to describe it, because that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
They play an old man game, and I don't know. Even Embiid, to an extent, plays an old. I mean, yeah, like even to an extent, he plays an old man game. He likes to get cute sometimes and dribble out and cross people up and stuff. He likes to do that from time to time, but I mean, even him, outside of taking the threes, when he's down on the block, like, he's old man game. He plays that way. It's amazing how they say everything is cyclical, right? So
socks up to the knees, wearing Converses. That's what those dudes look like every time I watch them.
All right, man. Well, there's a game going on right now. The Knicks are actually winning 43-28 at the moment, still in the first quarter. Wow, 43 points in the first quarter. Jesus. Deuce McBride has picked up where Donte left off, and he's 6 of 8 from 3 already in the first quarter. So
Deuce loose, man.
Deuce is loose once again. But we're going to shut this one down so we could go watch the game, and you guys can go watch the game. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Ty, really quick, tell them where they could talk to you, and we'll get out of here.
All right. Check me out on Junior Scribble on the X channel. Check me out, obviously, on our Knick fan page, All Knicked Up, Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube for the recaps and replays. Come and engage with your boys, and we'll be back at this next Wednesday.
Yeah, so as you guys can see, that's Finally 33 is my personal account. At all_Knicked_up is the show account. Hit me up both places. Hit us up there. Like and follow the All Knicked Up page, please. If you like the show so far, you can like and follow me too. That's fantastic. But like and show the All Knicked Up page as well. As Ty mentioned, we have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The page is where the show is broadcast, where you can interact with us during the show. The group is where we have fun talking about the Knicks and topics, and Ty does his recaps, which are fantastic. Very creative, very fantastic recaps. So, guys, check us out over there. And yeah, we hope you enjoy watching us. Again, I will not be here next week, but Ty will be here. Hopefully, Joe will be healthy and back, and they will hold you down for the week. I am traveling over to England. First time in Europe, so, I hope they're ready for me. But I will be back the following week to discuss the Knicks again. Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. That's coming Sunday. Happy Easter to you all. right now for Ty and Eric. You're watching All Nicked Up, and they will see you next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll do that.